Okay, welcome back. We are ACI Course 8, Class 7, May 23rd, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you, gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Recalling karma and emptiness, we glimpse how it's possible. And so we turn our mind back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. Go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. Yay. So last class, we learned about those different kinds of sustenances. And then we learned that, yeah, but all those sustenances are just what sustain us in this suffering life, right? So I don't know what conclusion to draw from that. It's not like we can decide not to sustain ourselves with that, but it's another clue to anyway, it's another clue to something. So this class, class 7, it's infamous. It's the class on the hell realms. We're studying death in the realms of existence. Remember the 2 reasons why. Number 1, when we studied Diamond Cutter Sutra, as Mahayanas, we have made this pledge to become a being who can help stop the suffering of all sentient beings, all, the key word, all, not leaving a single one out. That means we need to know about who exists as a suffering being. And, we may think, well, there are other humans for sure. And then there's animals, bugs, gnats, reptiles, fish, right? All those things that I've either directly experienced myself or read about or heard about. But if we stopped there, that would not be all sentient beings. And but if that's the only ones I've ever experienced, it's all for me. And that's a lower world view. There are existing beings that we've never heard about that are still coming from our karmic seeds. Right? So in a sense, it shows us, I don't know how much bigger our identity needs to grow, right? In our wish to be a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. So anyway, so number 1, the reason we're studying about the realms of existence is so that we know who it is that needs our help. And then the second reason is that as we learn about these beings, we ask, how does one become one of those? And of course, we know the bottom line. It's seed ripening of past deeds done that were similar. So the second reason we learn about it is so that we can inspire ourselves to choose our behaviors such that we can reduce down to 0 the likelihood of experiencing a future as one of these suffering beings. Any of them, technically. So we've gone through formless realm, form realm, craving spirits, humans. Did we talk about animals yet? Anyway, what we've got today is the hell realm beings. And anyway, we just need to do it. We could just say, look, there are hell realm beings. Don't forget them. But that wouldn't help us much in terms of preventing creating more hell realm beings. So we kind of do want to know the details. So here goes. Nyawa is the term hell. It looks like Nyawa, but every time Geshe-la says it, it sounds like Nyawa. Just such a subtle difference in the vowel. Nyawa. Hells. This is the Tibetan. In my upbringing, my family was Protestant. We had a Presbyterian church that we went to, and the preacher was a really great guy. But, it was not really a big part of our lives. And a hell realm was one of the things that I rejected as a kid. By the time I was a teenager and reading about this stuff, it's like, oh, they're just trying to scare me and control me. And, I didn't believe it. And then, fast forward. And here we are, they're talking about the same idea, only from that tradition, as I recall, it was held to be a punishment. It's like, you be a bad person in this life, God's going to punish you, judge you and punish you. And I guess that's really what I rejected. And so here, the hell realm descriptions are not much different, but the reason we get there is completely different, right? There is no judge who's saying, you go there, you go there. At the end of this life, we are our own judge constantly. Actually, during life is when our judgments are coming, because our judgments are how we choose the behaviors that we do in any given situation. And that's what plants the seed, any one of which can be the projecting karma at the end of this life. So we are our own judge, as we will learn when we get to Lojong. So in this explanation, Abhidharma Kosha, Tsanya means the 8 hot hells. Here's hells. Ge means 8 kinds. Tsa means hot. There are 8 kinds of hot hells, 8 levels of hot hells. They say these hell realms have a specific location, and each planet where there are, each planet where there's life has hell realms, apparently. And they are in specific locations, but they're below. They describe in our earth, the hell realms are like this huge columnar location that's are below Dorje Den. Dorje Den is the diamond seat, the diamond basis. In Sanskrit, it's Vajrasana. Vajrasana means the place where Prince Siddhartha sat down right, on that kusha grass at the base of the tree and said, I'm not getting up until I'm fully enlightened. It's now called Bodh Gaya, that place. So that place, underneath it, in this column, is these different levels of hell realms. And then they describe how big that column is. And it's bigger than our earth is round. So it's like, I don't know, just put it on the shelf and get the essence of this class, which is there are behaviors to not do to avoid this. There are beings who did those behaviors and got themselves into this kind of life, and they need help. Right? So yojana is a measure of distance that's used. They say it's around 4.5 miles, which would be what, 9 kilometers. And this cylinder of hell realm is said to be 20,000 yojanas. Sorry, wait. 20,000 yojanas in, what's that, diameter, which is 90,000 miles, 145,000 kilometers, and 320,000 yojanas deep, like beyond the size of Earth. They're stacked like coins. There's 8 of them. The one that's most superficial towards Dorje Den is the least suffering hell. None of them are least suffering. Then they get worse. The suffering gets worse, and the times that one is there gets longer at the different levels. So the 8th level down deep is the worst. So they go like this from top to bottom. The first one's called Yangsu. Yang means again. We've seen it before, again, yang. Yangsu means to revive. Su means to fix or to repair or to renew. So this is translated into the hell called revive. And the reason it gets that name, well, I'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. So to end up in a hell realm, your previous life ends. The projecting karma that pops, colors, right? You being headed to life as hell realm being, whatever time it takes to get there. And then you just appear there miraculously. Remember that term, you appear there complete. No being born, baby, hell bring. And the moment you're in this one, Yangsu, you are in this mass screaming confusion of violence. And you just appear there. Somebody's coming at you with a club. You grab something and you whack them before they can whack you. And there's just this hitting, clubbing, violence happening. In every one of these hell realm levels, the ground is burning hot. The air is burning hot if there is air. Everything's hot and burning. Beings there are all screaming and struggling. It's intense hatred towards everyone and everything. And just everybody's beating each other until they all beat each other senseless. And then this voice comes, revive. And they all pop up and it starts again. So it's not that you die in a hell realm, right? All of this horrible torture happening and you don't die. I mean, your mind doesn't leave it behind till you've used up all the seeds that could fill in that hell realm. Then, of course, the whole thing ends. But even then, it's not called dying. So revive, you get it. Just awful, awful, awful cruelty that you're doing to them and they're doing to you. It's not like you're, oh, leave me alone. You're part of it. Y'all pass out, revive, up you come. They explain that there's a unique, special, horrible pain of suffering that we have when we die, which they say that's probably why we don't remember dying, is because it's so painful. We've like blotted it out. I don't know if that makes sense. And as humans, we only experience it once. But that kind of pain is what hell beings are experiencing every moment. Okay. Typically, life in a hell realm will last millions of human years. Long, long time. Second level. So this is not first you go to the first level and then you go to the second level. The levels are, if you're projecting karma is only for the first level hell, the revive hell, that's where you spend your time. Right? So it's not like you have to go through all of them. So the second level, the second worst hell is called Tiknak. Tik means lines, knock is black line hell. In this level hell, there are beings called hell guards. So someone who has, the terrible karma to be in a hell realm, but the good karma to be the guard of the hell realm, right? They say there's a lord of the hell realm, which is like crazy good, bad karma. Somehow you're in charge of a place that's nothing but suffering. That sounds disastrous for when that being's karma for that wears out. They're going to be the hell realm being. Anyway, in this black line hell, you show up there, the hell guards throw you on this hot ground, put these hot chains down your body that char a black line. And the black lines indicate where other hell guards come and cut you up. And so you get cut and your body pieces are laying around, but you're still aware of them. Like if you cut my body up enough, I would die, I'm gone. But for a hell realm, you cut the body pieces, they're all over the place, and you're feeling the pain of all of them. You don't die, you don't get free of it. And then, of course, what happens is they all come back together and it all starts over again. So being cut up. I can't help but think, what kind of karma would make a black line hell? And it's like, okay, throwing a live fish on a barbecue, something like that. There we could have a seed in our mind that if that's the one that pops, you get the picture. Awful. Next level, dunjom. Dun means to collect or to gather, and jom means to destroy. So collect and destroy. This one, you show up there, and the hell guards like herd everybody into this dead-end canyon. And the two sides of the canyon are these huge mountains that have the shape of animal heads. And they push everybody in there, and then the mountains close and crush everyone. And then, of course, the mountains open back up again. And guess what? You're helping again. The mountains change shape, come again. So they say that the mountain shape reflects all the different kinds of animals that we killed, having to do with getting that kind of a rebirth somehow. Number 4, Numbu. Numbu means to scream, screaming hell. So no doubt they are all screaming, right? All the hells have screaming beings. But this one's characterized by the horrible screams. So in this one, the grounds are especially hot. They're made of iron. There's nowhere to go that's not like that. So you show up there and you can't stand still because it's so hot and burning. And so you're just running around screaming. And every time your body part touches that iron hot ground, you know, it burns up. So your feet burn up, your legs burn up, your knees, right? Just the part that touches burns away until finally, like, you're completely burnt away, but then you regenerate and it starts again. The helplessness is terrible. The trying to get off this hot ground is driving your experience. So the ones before you were there with other beings. This one too, there's other beings, same things happening. It's the first one where you're beaten and being beat. All the rest seem like you're not interacting so much with other beings, that it's your more personal suffering. But regardless, there's just no help you can get and no place you can go. Level 5 is Numbuchempo, great screaming hell. It's similar to screaming hell, only the pain is worse and the lifetime there lasts longer. Sixth level, it's Sawa. Sawa means heat. So all of these are hot hells, but this one is characterized by its horrible, horrible heat. And here they explain that you show up there finding yourself in a small steel hut with no door to leave. There's no escape. The place heats up and you roast, and there's nothing you can do. And you're running around inside, you know, pushing against the walls, trying to get out. But everywhere you touch is just hotter than it was before. And you cook and regenerate and cook again. Number 7, Rabtusawa. Rabtu means extremely hot. So in this one, you find yourself in a steel hut that has 2 rooms. The first hut roasts. So you run to the second hut, hoping it'll be less awful, and it's worse. And then you run back to the first room because it wasn't as bad, and now it's worse. And then you run back, you get it, you just keep, you're going for some kind of relief, and instead of relief, it gets worse. for longer than what it would be if you were in Soa. Lastly is Narme. Narme means no torment. Nor means torment. Me is none. No torment. But what it means is not that there's no torment, but this is the place where the torment is below none. It's the worst torment possible. In Sanskrit, it's avicii. There is no torment that is less than the torment of the Narme hell realm. They say every instant in this hell realm is more painful than all the other pain that's happening in all three realms of all beings at that moment. So you personally experiencing worse pain than all the pain of every existing being. And it's never less than that. So they describe that the instant you are a Narme hell being, this jet of flame blows at you and you are turned into this little incandescent filament. Do you remember the old light bulbs that had the two little electrodes and it had the little squiggly thing that went across, and when you turned the light on, that squiggly thing would get so bright you couldn't look at it? That filament is glowing so hot, and the only way anyone could establish that that filament is a living thing is that it emits a moan, a horrible moan. So you're just this hot moaning filament for the length of time that you are there. And if it ever does cool off, which it doesn't, another, flash of flame will heat you back up again, they say. Longest hell life, worst pain. If you recall, when we were studying the 5 immediate misdeeds, killing mother, killing father, killing Arhat, trying to draw blood from a Buddha with wrong intent, evil intent, and causing a schism in the Buddha Sangha. Those are all deeds that plant seeds that will send us to the worst hell realm. This is the one they're talking about. All right, so if that wasn't bad enough, there are also 8 cold hells. Strong Nyal Gay. Here's Nyal, hell, Gay, 8. Strong means cold. So these apparently parallel the hot hells, but they're like next door. They say they're underneath the Himalayas. And again, the location doesn't make sense. But also this column of cold hells, 8 different levels of them. You show up in a cold hell, you're naked, the surface is all ice with no protection, there's nowhere to go, the winds are icy cold, and you're just huddled there trying to protect yourself. And at each level, the cold is worse, it lasts longer, it has a more impact on your body. And they describe it similar to, a human in a freezing environment, right? First your skin chaps, and then it blisters, and then it cracks open, and then, everything itself freezes and falls apart. So each of the different levels of the cold hells has this worsening impact on what you're experiencing as your physical body. But you know, it's not like these physical bodies. But freezing, freezing, freezing. Of course, people are screaming, moaning, horrible. Then they say there is something called the adjacent house. Nye Korwe Nyawa. Nye Korwe means the adjacent nearby. So meaning, you know, here are these columnar hell realms. Just outside the columnar hell realms are these adjacent hell realms. And they say if you could get to the edges, the outer edge of one of these hell realms, any of the hot hells, and break through, you would find yourself in one of these adjacent hells. So you kind of get an idea of these adjacent ones surround the original column. And in order to get out of the hell realm, you have to go through these adjacent hells. And I don't know really. I don't know how it works. So they explain there are these 4 doors at each of the, they say each of the corners of the hell realm, but it's like, wait a minute, they're columnar, they don't have corners. I don't know. They have 4 doors. If you can get through one of those doors as your karma shifts, you're able to get out. And then there are these 4 zones. The first zone is this big trench, and it's filled with embers. So it's like you've made it to the edge of your hell realm. A door opens, you're standing on the edge, and you're looking into this pit of embers, right? Do you jump or do you stay? They say you will always jump, but you jump into these embers, and of course you know, your legs burn up. And you struggle and struggle to get out of this trench of embers. But you regenerate and you stay in there for a long time. But when you manage to get out of that bed of embers, you end up in a swamp, up to your neck in a swamp of corpses and biting creatures. And so it's terrifying, right, to be in a swamp with dead things and then be being eaten from below. And you manage to get out of that, and you find yourself on a road whose surface is made of razor blades with their edges up, right? So you can't help but cut yourself as you're running along this road. And then you come to an area where there's some trees by the edge of the road, and you think, oh, I'll climb the tree. The tree's leaves are shaped as knives. So as you get close to the tree, the leaves fall on you and cut you, but then you're climbing the tree and the bark is like razor sharp. You get to the top of the tree and there's these crows that peck your eyes out. So you turn and go back down the tree, and the bark again cuts you all up. Like everywhere you turn for relief, it's just pain and more pain. I guess finally, I don't know what happens at the end of the tree. That's the most peripheral adjacent hell. Then they say there's one more kind of hell. The Nyitsewe Nyawa. Nyitsewe Nyawa. Nyitsewe means a tiny little part. A tiny little part hell. Geshe-la calls it a partial hell. And they explain this as being more a personal karma meaning you share this hell with just one or two other people rather than a whole big crowd. And I don't begin to understand this one or the circumstances that would get it. They describe it as being like if a human, we were in some small plane and we crash on a desert island with a couple of different people, and there's nothing on that island, and we know we're gonna die. It's just a matter of when, right? It's hot, we're starving. Maybe the plane is burning and it's gonna explode. It's like a very specific, terrible suffering that actually isn't probably gonna last terribly long. I guess I don't know that for sure. But is the tendency would be, a partial hell would be what's meant for those like really unfortunate humans, right? That have that kind of life where everything was fine and then some terrible disaster happens and they can't find a solution, or those unfortunate beings where life just never goes right, and everything is terrible, terrible, and more terrible. And this is specific to say that no, this hell realm is not a human realm. It is a hell realm. But rather than being this great big, like everybody experiencing the same thing, hell realm, this one, the individual has a unique experience of this particular state of suffering. Okay. So more importantly than those details of what the hells are like is, how do we get there? Where do they come from? Do they really exist? And most importantly, how do we stay out of one? And we don't go into it in this class, but my question would be, how would I help somebody get out of one? If as a bodhisattva, that's my pledge, is to, how am I going to do that? And they didn't really talk about that. So how do we get to a hell realm? It sounds like it's a place underneath Bodh Gaya. So if we were to, heaven forbid, project a hell realm, projecting karma from where we died, from wherever we are, there would be a bardo time for that mind to get to Bodh Gaya. From the point of view of lower school that says that those locations have some existence of their own, right? Not self-existently, of course, but if there is a place for hell and it's not under Tucson, then if I die in Tucson and I'm going to a hell realm, I need a bardo time to get there. Remember? Studying bardo. The point is, all you need are these 3 shifts. Dead. Shift number 1, dead. Shift number 2, projecting karma. Hell realm projecting karma. Shift number 3, that karma, right, ripens. The karma pops, it takes its fill-in seeds with it, and then boom. So it's like 3 shifts of mind is all it takes to go from this life to hell realm life. It isn't a place. It isn't a place. It's a ripening of mental seeds, of course. In Master Shanti Deva, we'll learn. He says in one of his verses, Geshe-la paraphrases, who do you think made the hell realm? Some Acme construction company filed their plans with the county and got their permits and then took their equipment and built these metal huts or these fires or these mountains. It's like, no, our own minds make hells. And so they're real. But did you feel your mind say, oh, my own mind makes hell, I'll just quit making it. I won't believe. And that means there won't be any. But that's a mistaken reaction to what it means to say my own mind makes hell. Like my own mind makes traffic jams. I can't just decide to not believe I'm in a traffic jam and have the traffic free up. It doesn't work. I've tried. Because hell realms are projections of our minds, they are very real. And so they are very close. If we have the seeds of having reacted to things that we don't like with violence or cruelty or hatred. Same for paradise, in the sense that it only takes 3 instances to get to paradise too, because it also is not a place that was built by somebody. It's also a ripening karmic seed. Geshe-la said we tend to think that the possibility of a hell realm is pretty remote because first we have to get sick and or get old and die. And it seems like, I'm healthy now. I don't have some disease that is life-threatening that I know of. It's like I have time. And of course we learn through all of our practice is, we don't know that. It seems to be the case because I've had time up to this time. But we don't know that for sure, do we? And then we also don't know for sure what seed is going to be the projecting karma. That is not under our control. In the same way that the next karmic seed that ripens now is not under our control, especially the one that pops at the moment of death when we're already in that chaotic, probably fearful and painful circumstance. If our reaction to chaotic, painful, scary circumstances is to react badly to whomever is involved in that scary, painful circumstance, then we have the seeds that could push us into a hell realm. If our reaction to our very circumstance of dying is a violent one, we don't know. What reaction do we have when we're terrified? I have to admit, I've never been terrified. I've been really, really scared, but never terrified. So I don't know how I would react. Would I pull the covers over my head or would I come out fighting? And see, the difference is going to be that reaction of the mind, not the thinker, because the thinker requires the brain. This is the reactor, our awareness reacting. Okay. So to avoid a hell realm in our future, what would we have to do? We would need to damage any possible hell realm karma seeds that we've already made. And we would want to make non-hell making karmic seeds in the rest of this lifetime. How do we do that? How do we make karmic seeds? We're making karmic seeds by way of our behavior, moment by moment by moment, what we think, say, and do. Most of that for most of us is on automatic pilot, which is the problem, because automatic pilot is driven by me, right? Me and mine. So our personal practice is about growing our understanding, our intellectual understanding, growing our concern for our own future, and growing our compassion for ourselves, and then growing our level of mindfulness for that period of time between when we experience something and when we react to it. And so generally speaking, we are on react mode constantly. And the reaction is based on our belief in me, and that others' identity, and whether it's good or bad, is in it. So our natural reaction is to try to get it if it's pleasurable and try to push it away if it's not. Our spiritual path is to learn to recognize the reaction, and before we actually do it, decide, is that really the seed I want to plant? It may be. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to change all your behavior, but you'll go from automatic pilot, react, to choice of respond, to plant mode. And when we can have this keen awareness of how we are responding moment by moment, we have this window of opportunity to recognize, oh, there's some kind of reject, or like even very, very minuscule willingness to do harm, to avoid or to get. And in our window of choosing response, we can say, no, right? I won't do that. And that's where our stopping planting seeds that could grow into a hell realm lies. That's where our power lies, is in our interaction with others, whether it's inanimate others or animate others. It's our response, as we know. So it doesn't necessarily take big bad deeds to get to the hell realms. Yes, big bad deeds like the 5 immediate misdeeds will do it. But little harms grow. And if we have many of those growing, then the likelihood of one of them being the projecting karma at the moment of death, when we're experiencing this threat to our existence, is very likely to pop up. And maybe it was little when it went in there, but when it becomes the projecting karma, one that was willing to do harm to avoid something, or willing to do harm to get something, could ripen as this whole lifetime as a hell realm being. So Geshe-la said, logically, it's quite possible to go to a hell realm if we've ever seen ourselves being unkind to another. Right? Egads. If one of those seeds colors our mind at the moment of its moving from this body outward, the next full on life will be this hurt and being hurt reality with nothing else. It's not a place we go. It's a shift in perceptions. And that's all. And so that means we can stop that cycle. We can prevent it from happening altogether by doing our purifications practices regularly. No, yes, we can clear, theoretically, we could clear, damage all this negative seeds we've made up till now. And then we would want to have some regular clean out process so that the new ones we make by way of our human habit don't accumulate. And that's why our purification practice is built into our 7 limbs for meditation, assuming we're meditating every day and doing our 7-limb prayer, it's built in. I get on automatic pilot and I just blah, blah, blah through my 7 limbs and my purification. It's better than nothing, but it's not going to be protective. So, you know, for myself every now and then, right? I hear myself giving a class like this and it's like, Sarani, come on, get more, like I get complacent. All right. So how do you get to hell realm? 3 thoughts: dead, bardo, hell being. That's all it takes. Unless we don't have the seeds for hell being, then it can't happen. All right. So we act to avoid it. How do we act to avoid it? We take refuge. We avoid those harmful behaviors, train ourselves in the kindness behaviors. And to increase the power of that, of those behaviors, we take vows. So refuge in Buddhist morality is the protection against those lower realms: hell realm, hungry ghost, animal. So just taking vows is enough? I'm sorry, I'm going through our break time. Let's take a break. So I just said refuge and vows is what keeps us out of a hell realm. But of course, just taking vows doesn't keep us out of a hell realm. We have to keep our vows to have them serve in that way. And in order to keep our vows, we learn them, we know them, we track them, of course. So interesting, our course 9 is going to be vowed morality, right? We're going to learn about, you know, the vows, all the different kinds we can take, really was what that course is about. So what vows do we have? When we take refuge, if you've ever formally taken refuge, we get given 12 commitments. They're not actually vows because they're so broad, you can't actually keep them as vows, but they call them refuge vows. Regardless, there are 12 commitments, right, to all of them designed to help us live by way of karma and emptiness when we understand that process. then we could get 5 lifetime layperson vows that we'll learn about. That would be the next level of commitment. And they are actually, I vow to avoid such and such behaviors. And those 5, as you know, I think are really so specific that they really are keepable as a human on a spiritual path anyway. The lifetime layperson vows, one can add celibacy to those vows if one wants for temporary periods of time. There are advantages to doing that sometimes, or one can take that vow for like that whole lifetime. There would be a reason to do that. Then the next level of vow taking is ordination vows. Not that one has to take ordination vows, but it's an expansion of the 5 lifetime lay vows that in which we are dedicating to leave the home life in a certain way. And in the olden days, to take ordination meant you would actually physically leave your home life and move into a monastery and live according to the guidelines of monastic life, which would allow us to be less interactive with the ordinary needs of a human life. And that then the task is learning how to get along with others, because you're living in community with people with similar goals that are similarly broken human beings as oneself. So it's not easy. It wouldn't be easy. Like if you remember, if you ever lived in a dormitory at college or at school, it's like that's a whole different level of learning to relate. Nowadays, you take ordination vows and you, at least in the West, there are no monasteries to go live in. So it's more attitudinal isolation. No, isolation's not the right word. It's a more attitudinal leaving the home life than physical leaving the home life, because you're still responsible for making a living and keeping up your home. But you can still have ordained vows and live life according to those, not in a monastic setting, right? They just have to be adjusted a little bit. So as we understand that, we can decide to avoid a behavior. So for instance, we could decide to become vegetarian for ethical reasons. And it's a goodness to do that. And then we could, I mean, there's no vow to become vegetarian, but we could take a vow to avoid killing anything. And then our vegetarian lifestyle, those seeds would be planted with greater strength because we have the vow to avoid, not just the decision to avoid. And then the added advantage of taking a vow to avoid something is that every moment we are avoiding that something, whether we're tempted or not, every moment we are avoiding, we are making the goodness of keeping the vow, right? So typically, if you said, I'm going to avoid killing the ants in the anthill to keep them out of my garden, then the only time I get the goodness of that decision is when there is an anthill and I'd be tempted to pour poison down it, and I didn't. But if I took a vow, right, I vow to avoid poisoning anthills. I am not poisoning anthills now. And now And now, and now, and now. I am gathering the goodness of keeping the vow. Do you see? And then when I actually have the opportunity to pour poison and down and I don't, I get the added opportunity, right, of saving the lives. But I was keeping my vow all along. It's like once I heard that about vows, it's like, oh, now I get it. Because I would hear Geshe-la say, like, as I understood vows, I wanted as many vows as I could get. And that didn't make sense to me. And finally, Venerable Phil, I call him Uncle Phil, we were doing some class together, and he he was a monk by then, and he said, yeah, once I figured out this thing about the goodness grows, having a vow, the goodness grows every moment. He said it was a no-brainer. He said, I took my monk's vows. I got as many vows as I could. No, and it's not like it doesn't make you perfect at keeping your vows, but you see, you have this specific tool to clean out when you don't keep the vows well. And then you have this specific guidelines, and you have this goodness growing that we otherwise would only grow when we were in that circumstance. So you can see how the power of the 5 lifetime lay vows is so subtle but so strong. It's like, I will avoid killing a human or a human fetus. I mean, probably we're at the place where we're not ever going to be in that situation to even do it, but we're gathering the goodness of not doing so because we took the vow. Do you see? And it's like, whoa, not stealing anything of value, not lying about my spiritual progress. I'm blanking out. What's the killing, stealing, not sexual misconduct, so not adultery, and not alcohol. You know, for most of us, probably the alcohol is the hardest one because it's so ubiquitous in our world. But it's like, you know, really, once we make that decision of the power of vows, it's like no problem saying thank you, but no thank you. Yeah. And then just not serving it to others either. So it really, it's like the power of vows is quite extraordinary when we understand it, like it becomes this uber imprint coloring everyone that we make. Okay, so we get and keep vows. I interrupted myself. So ordination vows. Then the next level is bodhisattva vows. And then beyond bodhisattva vows is the diamond way vows, the tantric vows as well. So that word dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A, its root is dur, D-H-R. It means to hold back or to restrain. So really the Buddha Dharma is learning to restrain ourselves from behaviors that perpetuate suffering. So when we say I'm studying the Holy Dharma, you know, my mind still connects Dharma to Buddha's teachings, and right, that doesn't like zero in on restrain my behavior, but really that is its basis, teaching us all about why to restrain behavior, and then what behaviors to restrain, because as we've learned the specific consequences from specific behaviors, it is separated by a period of time such that we cannot connect the dot. It takes omniscience to be able to know the specific karmic consequences of specific behaviors. And so out of their love and compassion, those enlightened beings who see those cause and effect relationships, actually, they see them directly. They give us a list. You know, these are the things that we are doing as normal humans, right? Not awful, ugly, horrible people, just normal, trying to be happy humans. These are things that we do that look like they're all right to do, because sometimes they work. And when they don't, we find some other reason for why they didn't work. And an omniscient being, says, oh, you're just not seeing the big picture here. So they teach us. They boil down those 84,000 mental afflictions that make us do 84,000 harmful things, boil them down to a basic 10, and then teach us various things we need to know about how to choose our behavior differently. The Geshe says again and again, if you don't get anything else out of these classes, please get that Buddha's teaching is about just be nice, right? Be kind, respond with kindness, even when you don't want to. And it starts like a whole lot of, yeah, but what about me, right? Because in the long run, it's only our own seeds. We are responsible for our own seeds. And we're not responsible for other people's seeds that they plant. We can try hard to set a good example, but it's our own behavior that we are in charge of, right? We're not really in charge, but we want to learn to be in charge of our own behavior. When we fill our minds with kindness seeds, we have nothing to worry about. Right? Even if there are some little remnants of ugly seeds in there, the likelihood of one of them popping at the moment of death is remote. If we have like so full of kindness seeds that ugliness can't ripen, then even that process of going through death won't be that scary, terrible, painful experience, right? There's nothing about dying that has to be that. It is that because of our terrified me that thinks it's disappearing. The me is disappearing when we die. Self-existent me that never existed, but I believe exists, is gonna disappear. So of course we're gonna be scared and terrified. But if we're not relating to that me anymore, because our kindness has grown so big that we weren't needing to protect me all the time and to get what me wants all the time, because me has gotten so much bigger, then that self-existent me that's terrified of dying isn't there to be terrified of dying. It's a whole different experience driven by kindness. We resist. I can't be kind in the face of that jerk hurting me. Right. Ben wrong. Oh, okay. So of course, ultimately, hell realms are our projections. So I'm so sorry that I got to be the one to put hell realms into your projections. But it's part of the job. So I did it. Please forgive me. But now we know, right? Who's there that needs help? And I admit I see not in my immediate world, but by way of my news feed, right? I see that there are beings in my world that are leaders and people behind that leadership that somehow think that, harming others is the way to get what they want. And, at the first level, it's just so horrible. But deeper than that, what they're making for themselves in the future is beyond comprehension. No, and so I really can start to squeak into having compassion for these beings that are, to me, like the enemy, right? Like the epitome of selfishness. I just want to, right? But I'm starting to get to the place where it's like, oh my gosh, when your seeds ripen, you know, it's horrible. And why can I see that? Right? All right. Okay, that's class. That's enough. I'll bank the extra time for a more fun class. Yes, Chris.
Is there a way, and I'm sorry, it's really noisy here.
Okay.
Is there a way that, that when you make your good seeds and you are kind and everything, that it's sort of, there's this same sort of, there's your good seeds and your bad seeds. Does it put them kind of on top so they are more likely to pop, or is it still just a numbers game? Is there?
Yeah, dedicate them. And it adds to their strength or adds to their power. It like solidifies them. And, it is technically a numbers game. But they will, as they influence our choice making, then they are also coloring our mind, right? And then the more our mind is colored, the less likely one of the ugly ones would pop, because the less likely you would be to react badly in that circumstance where your you is being threatened, right? What makes the negative seed likely to pop is the state of mind at that death time is terrified. And when we're terrified, we come out fighting, right? And that's what'll pop one of those negative seeds. If in life we've been gaining when I'm terrified, I open my heart and see what I can do, right? Then that's more likely to be the case when we're terrified in this other way too, right? And then that is numbers, just in terms of the more we do, the more seeds we have, the more likely it'll happen. Yeah.
Teacher, I don't find that hand. I don't know where I have it.
Okay, that's all right. I recognize this.
Yes, I just do like this. These images that we see about our leaders, like yesterday or the day before about Donald Trump, for example, with our South African leaders, and telling that white people they want to exterminate white people in South Africa and all of this. This comes from our collective violence and hate? Or why do we see, because we are all seeing the same thing?
Yeah. This idea of a collective karma, if we mean by collective karma that there is a karma, how do I say this? That's beyond mine, that everybody's experiencing the same way, every human. It's like that. There's no such thing as collective karma like that. There is collective karma in the sense that as humans, we've all done the thing that projected us into human number one. And then we all have these similar karmas ripening as similar behavior at similar time frames. And in that way, yes, we have a collective karma. What it is to be human in May of 2025 is to ripen this event, right?
That it's individual karma. It's individual karma that ripens to all of us at the same time. more or
Yes,
less.
each of us individual karma that, right, has this commonality, right? Just
Mm.
like the weather, right, has a
Mm.
commonality to all of us, but it's all unique to each one of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, I like when I hear myself say that, it's like I can feel the different levels of understanding karma and emptiness just in terms of weather. Okay, Tucson's weather is turning hot, right? We're into triple digits now. And some people, it's like, finally, it's hot. Others go, egads, it's hot, right? There is a weather that exists, and we all react individually to it. That's one level, right? That's lower level understanding.
Yes. I want to tell you something, teacher. Since you were in Barcelona, that we didn't have water, you remember, I told you for years it's not raining. Since you were in Barcelona, it has been raining so much that now we have full of water everywhere. And we don't need, this summer we will have water for all the tourists because we have so many tourists also. So we have everything full of water.
Looks like we shifted that. Yay.
Yeah.
Hey, Lama, these prayers work. They really do. They really do.
I do.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help? Probably we won't ever give them this class on the hell realms. That's fine. But what we've learned from it, we will use to help us become a being who can help them stop their suffering forever. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, and then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it, and they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there, their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the true ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales. I think I'm frozen. To share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with kindness, filled with wisdom, and may it be so. All right, thank you so very much.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.